Hello,
Right.
you're back watching a single malt review and many cats.
Yeah, this is a disaster already.
Hello,
Right.
you're back with a single malt review. Today it's almost a little bit of whisky backstory. Especially in Scotch whisky, you often get sherry cask maturation. Oloroso Sherry being one of the finest, favoured by Gendrike and other leading distillers.
Yeah, we talk about Oloroso all the time over here. It is quite ubiquitous in the world of whiskey. Oloroso Sherry being what spends, well, sometimes a horrifyingly brief time in the sherry butts, which are so crucial to the whiskey that we enjoy.
Now, though, we're going straight to the source with this Barbadillo Oloroso Sherry.
Yeah, we're going to try the genuine article and do what so many people don't, which is drink sherry.
Yes.
We're going to give a little bit back to the whiskey industry, which I'm sure they'll be very thankful for, and provide them a little bit of space in a sherry butt somewhere. With my purchase of this Oloroso bottle of sherry.
I do like the occasional sherry. I'm partial to it.
Yeah, I like it. It's a bit polarising because it's a drier wine than people expect. And I
we'll
think
have a
that's
glass full on average every couple of years, I'd say. It's been a while, honestly.
Yeah.
Don't drink a lot of it, certainly. Don't drink a lot of anything, really, but I don't mind sherry.
There's a lot of different types of sherry. I think Oloroso is the most interesting. And it's... I was going to say Oloroso is a bit weird. All of sherry is a bit weird. The more you know about sherry, the weirder you understand it to be. There's some quite horrifying practices going on in making sherry. If you want to really see some stuff, look up how Fino sherry is made. It involves mould and all sorts of... Anyway, Oloroso is a bit more typical than that. It's made a lot more like port, only the wine is fermented dry before fortification rather than being interrupted halfway through. So there's no residual sweetness like you get in port. The main difference between Oloroso and your lighter types of sherry, your Finos and things like that, is something that's pretty obvious in the colour, and that it is a oxidated product. If this was a straight white wine, which sherry begins its life as, made from the Palomino grape of Spain, it would be white, it would be completely pale. This one has oxidised through its years, if it got that long, of aging in its butt.
It is a Solera-aged sherry, I believe.
So that's a big old wall of butts, which are decanted through, so that this one will be a blend of different years, in this case, representing more of an average age. But the sort of the Oloroso difference, I suppose you'd say, is that they let the air in, essentially. So it sits in that butt and it will interact, albeit gradually, with the atmosphere through the wood over many, many years, take on this colour and lose a lot of its volatiles, and you'll get what would otherwise be called, normally you'd say, oh, this wine's oxidised, it's bad. And that would apply for beer, that would apply to all sorts of things that are capable of oxidising. Whiskey, thank goodness, is not. It's too high strength. It would oxidise, but only after the strength came way, way, way down, more into the realms of, this, which is 18%.
Yeah, that is packing quite a punch. And the colour, too, actually, that looks like, to the untrained eye, basically like a very old Scotch whisky might, when it's been matured, and sherry for a good 18, 20, 25 years.
Yeah, and it smells amazing.
It does.
Sherry's got its lovers and its haters. I challenge anyone to not like the aroma of sherry. It's very, very different from the palate, and I think that's why it's so divisive, but the aroma is just incredible. Oloroso is itself Spanish for aroma. It's one-to-one translation, so they know what they're on about, and the aroma is... I think it's tremendous.
It's rich, sweet, brandy-soaked sultanas.
Yeah, and we'll come back around to this. It's a sweet aroma.
Yeah.
It reminds it primes the palate to think of sweet things, which is exactly what whiskey does.
So just at the end, a faintly bitter edge, like the mould on a blue cheese.
Yeah,
it's just lurking there after the waves of sickly, syrupy fruit.
There's super duper quantities of oak tannin in there. no end of walnut. There's so much walnut in
Yeah.
here. There's nuts of all kinds, toasted nuts, roasted nuts, caramelized nuts. It's just a nutty old nose on the go here, and I think it's absolutely amazing. The problem people have is when you switch from aroma to palate. It's a bit of a wild transition. Boof, and suddenly it's not sweet at all. Suddenly you realise, this is maybe a 1 gram per litre residual sweetness.
It is
a bone dry wine.
It is acrid. It is even slightly metallic at first because it's just...
And it's sharp and it's acid like white wine should be.
Taking sweet fruits and sanded off all the sugars, you're left with a dry, tart, slightly biting.
Yeah, it's dry and it's also drying because it's heavily tannic as well. The nuts are still there. It's still it's aromatic even as you're tasting it. You're still tasting it kind of with your nose rather than your tongue. It is one of the most aromatic things on the planet, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a trick, and I think that's why a lot of people don't like it because it really gets the palate absolutely salivating, expecting this sort of rich sultanery, all of this stuff, and then it's a bit stunned sometimes. That's why my partner, she hates it so much because her palate feels like it's been conned by the nose. And then it's done this bait and switch on the way down, and you're left with this starkly dry.
It's like those videos which you do all the rage on the internet currently of cakes which don't look like cakes. Do you think you get a nice leather brogue to slip your foot into? But no, it's red velvet. It's like that with this, but the reverse. You have a sweet, fruity bouquet on the nose when you drink it, and it is fruit leather and acid and
it is dynamic. That's what it is, and I find it extremely exciting. I really like it. I like it with nuts. I like it with cheese.
It'd be perfect with a cheese board, like a rich barley wine. Basically beer's equivalent, which is unbelievably strong and malty and has contrasting extreme sweetness and extreme bite, and also dryness. It would pair nicely with nuts, fruits, blue cheese. The sharper the better.
And so, mileage is going to vary hugely between the individuals. If you're one of the people that really doesn't like this because of this bait and switch over the aroma and the palate, then there's a sherry out there for you, and it's called Pedro Jimenez, which is very, very similar, only it's super duper sweet because they juice it up with a bunch of concentrated.
It is, in fact, a special case amongst fortified wines, and if I'm remembering this right, PX contains no actual wine. You have grape juice, a concentrated, strong Pedro Jimenez grape juice, which is fortified straight with brandy. There's no wine involved, unlike most sherry.
Yeah. And like I say, there's almost a sherry for everybody out there. There's so many different types of styles. They're so unknown now. Sherry is so underground that it seems ripe for a hipster sort of resurgence that just hasn't come. Like the hipsters have come to research everything else that's obscure and old.
Gin, tobacco.
Yeah, everything. And yet, but they just cannot. They haven't summoned the will to get the fedoras spinning and
fortified wine.
It's odd. It's really odd.
Overdue a comeback.
I think in the next 5 years the hipsters will finally bless this with a hipster resurgence, and the flat caps will rotate in its direction at last.
Yes,
and there will be chick cafes and things serving this stuff. It can't not happen. It would just defy the process of the earth if it didn't occur. Hello, Campbell. Is he going to grace us? Yes, he is. The cat nightmare resumes. Excellent.
Thinking about it from a whiskey point of view, though, it's interesting that Oloroso Sherry, for me, I associate with the sweeter properties, especially in Highland and Speyside whiskey, whereas this is very much not sweet, but you can see why the flavours it imparts.
The flavours are the same. They just haven't got that huge malty boost from the. And again, whiskey contains exactly as much sugar as this does, which is bloody zero. It's just the fact that the alcohol in whiskey does come across quite sweet on the palate, so you get a albeit artificial sweetness that you don't get with this. There is no sweetness here. Oh, and one last thing. There's a fun hack, I suppose you'd say, with Oloroso. This bottle, you can't really see, but it's very, very low, and it has been for a couple of weeks. And the wine is completely fine because, and unlike almost anything else, even more than port, because this is aged in an oxidative style,
it's already
as oxidized as
There's
it's going
nothing
to get.
more Mother Nature can do from it.
Yeah.
The environment's taken all it can already.
It's in terms of air contact, it's bulletproof.
Wow.
Which you can't say for any other wine. You know, even fortified wines like port, they will start to get tired. They'll get oxidized because they are not used to air contact. Even tawny port, which has seen a wee bit over its time aging. This one has seen all of it. This one doesn't care. It's been through the oxygen wars and come out the other side. It's almost completely stable. So it's wine you can kind of treat like whiskey and bung on the shelf. For not forever, but for quite a long time, because the air has already done everything it's going to do to the wine inside. So there you go. It's you don't have to drink it all at once.
Yeah. My takeaway is, if you're interested in whiskey, try Oloroso Sherry. If you're interested in wine, try Oloroso Sherry. And finally, if you're interested in good savoury cheese board dessert platters, then try once again Oloroso Sherry.
Yeah. And if you want to get really creeped out, look up how they make Fino Sherry and then never drink it again, which is most people's experience. Now, Fino Sherry is okay. It is a bit of it's pretty freaky though. Hey, not as bad as figs. Could always get worse. Anyway, I think we've just about rinsed this one for its content. So we will be right back with something a bit more typical. Sludger, drink the empty glass. And we will be right back.